Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining today. Welcome to the workshop on how to migrate to the updated account select pane in Link. I'm Pam, and I'm a software engineer. I work on the consumer privacy team at Plaid, which is a dedicated team that builds products to empower consumers to understand and control their financial data and how it's used in the fintech ecosystem. I'm joined by Ed, who's a product designer on the consumer privacy team. He's focused on designing products to deliver the best experience for you and your customers. Before we get started, I have a few quick housekeeping items. At the end, we'll open the workshop up for Q&A. Please ask your questions in the Q&A widget below at any time during the presentation. We're recording today's workshop and we'll share it with you all via email following today's webinar. In this workshop, we'll cover how Plaid thinks about consumer privacy and we'll review the account select pane updates. Then we'll walk you through how to implement the account select pane updates. Finally, we'll make sure to leave time at the end for Q&A. So let's get started. As you may know, privacy is something that is top of mind in our industry. And at Plaid, we're committed to building an even safer ecosystem. So to kick off this session, we first want to share how we think about and are building for consumer trust and safety. First and foremost, we believe that Plaid is the safer way for people to share their financial information. We were founded on the principle that people have a right to their financial information, and they should get to decide where, how, and with whom it's shared. That's why every Plaid product is built with 3 pillars in mind: control, security, and transparency. In particular, when we think about consumer privacy at Plaid, we think about how to build even more transparency and control into Plaid so you can easily adapt to the changing privacy landscape without much heavy lifting. We're dedicated to building easy and clear migration experiences for you to adopt the latest privacy features from Plaid. And finally, as we work to build Plaid products at Plaid, we anchor ourselves on a few key principles: data control and minimization. We provide meaningful controls. We only collect data that we need and don't retain it for longer than necessary. Transparency and education. We make it easy to understand our data practices. We seek to further educate people on the controls we provide and how their information is used. Making the complex accessible. We aim for clarity, brevity, and ease. We approach challenges with a growth mindset. Industry-leading experience. We believe that providing best-in-class privacy products is a good experience. We aim to be at the vanguard of pro-privacy and pro-consumer practices. We only share data with people's permission. People own their data. We don't. I'm now going to hand it off to Ed to take you through the updates we're making to the account select pane.
Thanks, Pam. Let's dive into those updates to the account select pane. So the updated account select pane and Link is available for all customers as of last fall. The updates include both UI and functionality updates. For instance, there's a new user interface for users to select 1, multiple, or all accounts. Also, Plaid will share only the data for the accounts that the user selects on this pane. This means that you can focus on the user's relevant accounts. More specifically, with this new experience, you can choose the behavior of the pane depending on the accounts you need to request access to. We'll be offering 3 variants of this new account select pane. The first is single select, so this is recommended for ACH use cases. The second is multi-select, primarily for use cases that support multiple accounts. And lastly, select all, which is recommended if your use case needs to request access to all accounts, such as a PFM. You can also continue to use account type and subtype filtering to specify which account types your customers should select. So if you need access to all investments accounts for your use case, you can specify investment accounts in the account filter with the select all variant to request the user connect all investments accounts rather than connecting non-investment accounts. If you need to request access to new accounts in this new experience, you can. First, so that you know when may be an appropriate time to request that your users update the accounts they are sharing with you. For instance, when they have a new account available, we'll send you a webhook. In particular, Plaid will issue a new accounts available webhook when we discover a new account associated with an item when we talk to the bank. This webhook will only be fired for items created with the updated account select pane. When you receive this webhook, we recommend that you send the customer through update mode. You want to create a link token with update.accountSelect enabled set to true. You may notice that the consumer will not need to re-authenticate themselves as a part of update mode at times. For instance, consumers don't need to enter their credentials again when they are updating to a non-OAuth connection that's not broken. This is an update that we just rolled out in response to feedback from customers like you. Next, the consumer can then update which accounts they would like to share. Previously selected accounts will be pre-selected. Consumers can disconnect previously selected accounts if they choose. If they do, they'll be shown information on the impact of this and more context on how their data will be handled. Here, we provide screenshots of how this experience will look depending on which account select pane variant you choose to use. One question that you might be asking yourself is, what is the impact of this update? What impact this update will have on conversion? To help answer this, we ran 2 A/B tests to find out. First, we tested no account select pane versus the updated pane for access to all accounts. And secondly, we tested the first version of access to multiple accounts versus the updated version 2 pane for access to multiple accounts. In both of these experiments, we found no statistically significant differences in conversion rates. These experiment results are reassuring to our customers who closely monitor the conversion metrics. As Plaid rolls out this new account select pane, we will closely track any change this updated pane has on our customers' conversion rates. And finally, one last note before we dive into the demo to show you how we built an easy way for you to adopt the updated account select pane. The account select pane will retire on March 31st, 2022. If you don't upgrade to the updated account select pane before this date, you can expect the following. If you don't use the existing account select pane, the enabled for all accounts version will automatically be added before the success pane in your link flow. If you use an existing account select pane with either single or multi-select, you will be automatically migrated to the new respective version. And with that, now I'm going to hand it over to Pam to take you through a demo.
Thanks, Ed. We can go over the demo now. So we'll begin by reviewing the current experience, which historically has been optional. We'll go into our customization and enable version 1 of this pane for multiple accounts. Now we'll go through Link and connect the sandbox user. I'm sure some of you are familiar with this already, but it'll be helpful for understanding what's new in the latest version of Account Select. So we'll select checking as our preferred account. You can see the connection was successful. And taking a look at the accounts we have access to, we see we can access all accounts tied to this item, and we have a signal as to which account is the user's preferred account. Now let's go through the flow with Account Select version 2. We'll enable selecting multiple accounts this time as well. As you can see, the user is presented a list of all their accounts and the ability to select the ones they'd like to share. You'll notice there's no work required to enable account selection version 2 beyond updating your customization within the dashboard. Now we'll go through Link again with the sandbox user. We see the updated account select pane. Yeah, we see the updated account select pane here. We'll select the checking account as the only account we want to share. Now that our item is successfully connected, we'll look at the accounts we can access. You'll notice how we only get access to accounts that were selected in the account select pane. A new feature with items connected with account select version 2 is that a new accounts available webhook will be fired when new accounts on the item are detected. You can listen for these webhooks so that you can prompt users to update their item and allow access to these new accounts. Let's go over how to test out this new webhook as well as how to put users through the update mode with account select flow. So we have a sandbox endpoint you can use to fire the new accounts available webhook to test your integrations. So we'll send this post to we'll send a post to this endpoint, and you can see the webhook is fired. Here's an example of a link token request for update mode with account select. As you can see, it's very similar to update mode without account select. You just need to ensure the link customization that is used for this token is enabled for account select version 2, as well as pass in the account selection enabled field to be true. Now we'll go through update mode with account selection. So you may notice that we've skipped the login flow. That's because we've made some improvements to optimize the link user flow if the item is in a healthy state. You can see the previously selected accounts will be pre-selected. We'll also select the savings account here, and you can see if we try to deselect a previously selected account, we'll show a confirmation modal to the user to let them know that data about any unselected accounts won't be shared. So now looking at the accounts we can access, you can see that we reflect the new selections from update mode. So now we have access to the savings account and no longer have access to the checking account. So that wraps up our demo, and we'll begin answering questions. Remember, you can submit questions through the Q&A widget below. So the first question that we have coming in is, will the recording be shared after the meeting? Yes, we'll be sharing out this recording via email tomorrow. The next question we have coming in is, how will this affect the previous functionality where we received all accounts? So items created with the previous functionality won't be impacted by this update. Another question we got is, are there any code changes required to migrate, or can this all be done from the dashboard? There are no code changes required to migrate. As you saw, you just need to make that change in the dashboard to version 2 of the account select pane. So another question we have, what will happen with the connections which were previously added? Nothing will change about those connections, and they'll remain the same. A question for you, Ed. Do the account select pane updates impact how product upgrades work?
Good question. So no, they do not for the accounts that the user has selected. So for example, if you initialize with transactions and you decide to add off later, the updated account select pane will not impact how this works for accounts that the user has selected. If you want to request access to this type of data that's associated with unselected accounts, you should send the user through update and patch mode. Looking at some more questions. How can customers request incremental access to new accounts? So for example, accounts not shown in account select pane or unselected accounts. Pam, would you like to answer that one?
Yep, for sure. So you should listen to the new accounts available webhook. And when new accounts are detected and you're notified via this webhook, then you should send users through the update mode. Okay, we have another question. Will this version 2 roll out to everyone at some point, even if no changes are made in the dashboard? Yes. So the deadline is March 31st. And after that date, we'll begin rolling this out to everyone. So we have another question. Is a webhook fired when a user has unselected an account? No, we don't fire webhooks when an account is unselected. So you'll only get access to the accounts that they've selected when they go through the linked flow, but no webhook is fired when something is unselected. The webhook is only fired for new accounts. So another question, will anything break if we don't change code or dashboard settings? No, nothing will break. You'll just begin getting these new accounts available webhooks.
Looks like we have a question specifically about OAuth. So how does updated account select pane work with OAuth? And the answer is generally, if a user goes to the OAuth flow, they will see the updated account select pane unless one of these three exceptions are true. So the first exception is the user will see an updated account select pane after OAuth, or after the OAuth flow, if the customer has an account type or subtype filtering enabled. Exception 2 is the user will see the updated account select pane after the OAuth flow if the customer has single account select filtering enabled. And the last exception is the user will see the updated account select pane after the OAuth flow if the OAuth doesn't feature a similar type of pane.
Question, is it possible for users to enable access to accounts that were not originally selected in the account select pane? Yes, that's possible. You'll need to send users through the update mode within Link to allow them to connect any accounts that you don't have access to. Another question, what will happen when users are connecting to the same institution multiple times and selecting different accounts? So the accounts that you'll have access to will be the accounts from the most recent selection they made when they've gone through the link flow. Okay, another question. If a user deactivates an account, then activates it again, is it the same account ID? So, whoops, it should be the same account ID. Right now, we're actively investigating how we can improve account reconciliation and exploring ways to create more stable IDs. So we're going to continue monitoring this to ensure that account ID stability is not negatively impacted. Another question, am I right that if I'm using the old approach where I receive all accounts at the time, I do not need to change anything and it will still work, but the set of accounts will be different based on user selection response? So if you're using the old approach where you receive all accounts, so there is no account select pane essentially, and you don't do anything, you'll be migrated to the account select require all experience that Ed went through. And so that means that once users go through that pane and they continue to the end of the link flow, that you'll have access to all of those accounts. Another question, if enabled for all accounts is used, will any new accounts available webhook be sent? Yes, so we'll send that new accounts available webhook when we detect there are new accounts, because then the user needs to explicitly confirm that they want to share that new account as well. Ed, a question for you. Do the account select pane updates impact how product upgrades work?
Good question. So I believe we answered this earlier, but I'll repeat the answer again. So no, they don't if the user, for the accounts that the user has selected. So again, for example, if you initialize transactions and you decide to add off, the updated account select pane will not impact how this works for the accounts that the user has selected. If you want to request access to this type of data as associated with unselected accounts, you should send the user through update and patch mode. Somewhat related question. So when a customer goes through update patch mode, will they be shown a list of all available accounts? For example, previously selected accounts, previously unselected accounts, and any new accounts? The answer to that is yes. The user will see a complete list of associated accounts with that set of credentials, and previously selected accounts will be pre-checked.
Another question, in the multi-select account view, is there an option for users to automatically share new accounts? No, this option does not exist. They'll need to go through update mode in order to share any new accounts.
Might be a good question for you, Pam, but what are we doing about account ID stability and account ID churn?
Yeah, good question. So we're actively investigating how to improve account reconciliation, and we are monitoring account ID stability.
Another question is, if a user gives permission as a part of update mode to the account that he or she previously excluded, will historical transactions or data be included? Yes, so Plaid will pull from 2 years back, and Plaid will do an initial and historical pull whenever a new account is added.
Another question, will the webhook tell you what kind of account was newly opened? No, the webhook just lets you know that there is a new account.
One more question that I think I could take. So is it possible to edit the messaging of the pane? For example, could we add messaging to remind users about the requirements around the accounts that they will need to select and share data from? So we don't currently have the ability to customize the pane. What we recommend is that you specify the type of accounts that you need the user to select prior to sending them through update mode.
And just a reminder that we are recording this session and we'll be emailing out the recording after. Another question, will users have to go through select accounts pane if they go through update mode to remedy an unstable token connection? Is the pane essentially just tied to the flag set during link token creation for update mode? So for that last question, is it tied to the flag during update mode? Yes, that's correct. So if you're sending a user through update mode and you don't have this, this flag set and you just need them to repair their connection, they will not see the account select pane. They'll only see it if you pass in the flag to update mode. Another question, when we unselect some accounts, will we get an update for this account via default update webhook? So we don't send any webhooks for when a user unselects an account while they're going through the link flow.